Ladies and gentlemen, you may be wondering, when others hurt us, how do we respond? It's a natural instinct to want to strike back or to hold on to that hurt, but what if we could understand how we're treated when others hurt us? The reality is that the pain of being hurt can be a powerful opportunity for growth. You see, there's something extraordinary that happens when you choose not to seek revenge. When someone wrongs you, the world would tell you to defend yourself, to protect your image, to get even. But instead, consider the possibility of taking a different approach, one that allows us to see beyond the surface of the wound and find peace. The response of the world will often lead to anger, resentment, and bitterness. But the response from a higher understanding leads to forgiveness, healing, and strength. When you are hurt, it is not your duty to carry that pain for the rest of your life. There is a higher way to live, one that does not bind us to past hurts or wrongs. In fact, it frees us. The pain that someone has caused you does not need to define your future. When you respond with grace, when you choose to let go of bitterness, you release yourself from the shackles of that wound. People will disappoint you, hurt you, and let you down. That's the reality of life. But here's what's also true. How you respond to that hurt defines who you are. You do not have to carry that bitterness or anger with you. The moment you choose to forgive, you choose to release that weight, that burden. You see, forgiveness is not for the one who hurt you, it's for you. It's a way of protecting your own heart from the corrosion of unforgiveness. It's important to remember that when you've been wronged, your heart's posture matters. You can choose to allow your heart to become hardened by the pain, but you can also choose to soften your heart, to allow peace to settle into your soul. When you choose this path, you open the door for healing to come. Healing doesn't come when we're focused on the wrong that has been done to us. Healing comes when we release that hurt and trust that there's something more for us beyond it. It's difficult, yes. It's not easy to forgive those who have wounded you, but let me remind you of something powerful. Forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's a process. It's a journey of continually choosing to walk in peace, even when the memory of the pain resurfaces. The more you forgive, the more you will heal. And the more you heal, the more you will be able to love, to serve, and to give freely. There is a divine wisdom in letting go of the hurt others have caused you. When you do, you will be set free. You will be free from the chains of resentment, free from the weight of anger, and free to live a life of peace and joy. The way you handle the hurt you've experienced can be the catalyst for the most profound growth of your life. When you choose the path of forgiveness, you are choosing the path of freedom. And that, my friend, is a path worth walking when we're hurt. It's easy to be tempted to seek revenge or hold on to anger. After all, we've been wronged, and our emotions tell us that we deserve justice. The world often encourages this kind of response. Stand up for yourself. Make sure others know how you've been treated. And never let anyone get away with hurting you. But what if there's a higher way to respond to the pain and offense we experience? What if, instead of seeking revenge, we chose to forgive and heal? Choosing forgiveness over revenge is a powerful choice, one that can lead to peace, freedom, and growth. When you choose forgiveness, you break the cycle of retaliation. Revenge is like a cycle that keeps spinning, drawing us into its endless loop of anger and hurt. Each time we respond to a wrong with anger or retaliation, we keep that cycle going. The person who wronged us may never feel the full weight of the pain we've endured, but we are left carrying the bitterness, which eats away at our hearts. And so the cycle continues, only to deepen the wound. But when we choose to forgive, we are stopping that cycle. We are choosing to break free from the pain that someone else's actions caused. Forgiveness is an act of liberation. It doesn't mean that we ignore the hurt or pretend it didn't happen. It simply means that we refuse to allow the hurt to define us or control our lives. Forgiveness is about choosing to move forward even when the past still lingers. This is where true strength lies. It takes far more strength to forgive than to seek revenge. It's easy to lash out, to yell, to strike back when we've been hurt. But forgiveness requires courage. It requires the humility to admit that, despite our hurt, we are not in control of everything. We cannot always control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. Forgiveness acknowledges the pain and wrong, but it does not allow that pain to dictate our emotions or actions. In forgiving, we take back control of our lives. Furthermore, forgiveness allows us to heal. Holding on to anger and resentment only prolongs the pain. We might think that holding a grudge will somehow make the other person feel guilty or regretful, but more often than not, it only poisons our own hearts. That bitterness can seep into our relationships, cloud our judgment, and prevent us from experiencing the joy and peace that we deserve. By choosing forgiveness, we open the door to healing. We create space for ourselves to let go of the hurt and begin to rebuild. Forgiveness doesn't happen all at once, but each time we forgive, we take a step toward emotional freedom. Forgiveness also gives us a deeper understanding of ourselves. When we choose to forgive, we're not saying that what was done to us was acceptable. We're not condoning the hurt or the wrong. Instead, we're acknowledging that the wrong happened and choosing to move beyond it. It's a way of saying that we are not defined by the things that happen to us, but by how we respond. We rise above the situation and claim ownership of our peace. In this way, forgiveness becomes an act of empowerment, not weakness. Choosing forgiveness doesn't mean we forget the hurt. It doesn't mean we condone the behavior that caused us pain. What it does mean is that we choose to release the hold that the wrong has over us. We choose peace over bitterness, growth over stagnation, and love over hatred. It's also important to understand that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation, at least not immediately. Sometimes the hurt is so deep that it's wise to set boundaries for self-protection. Forgiveness can exist in the heart, even when reconciliation with the person who hurt us isn't possible at the moment. It's an internal decision to release the grip that anger or resentment has on your life, without necessarily needing to restore the relationship in the same way it was before. Finally, forgiveness opens up the possibility of healing, not only for the person who has wronged us, but for ourselves as well. When we forgive, we allow God's peace to flow through us, mending the wounds that others' actions have caused. We may never understand why we've been hurt, but we can choose to heal in spite of the pain. And in this choice, we find true freedom. Choosing forgiveness over revenge is never easy, but it's a choice that leads to greater peace, deeper strength, and emotional freedom. It's a choice that allows us to move forward, not as victims of the past, but as victors who have taken control of their own hearts. When we hold on to pain and bitterness, it can feel like we are carrying an enormous weight. It's almost as though the wrongs done to us become a burden that we can't shake off, no matter how hard we try. But here's the truth. Holding on to that hurt doesn't protect us. It only holds us back. The more we grip tightly to past offenses, the more we let them shape our present and our future. However, there's another option, one that offers freedom, healing, and peace. That option is letting go. Letting go is not about denying the hurt or pretending it didn't happen. It's about choosing to stop letting the hurt dictate our emotions and control our lives. It's about choosing peace over bitterness, healing over staying stuck in the pain. When we release our grip on the past, we free ourselves to move forward. We make room for growth, joy, and transformation. One of the hardest things to do when we've been hurt is to let go of the pain. Our natural instincts tell us to hold on tight to what we've experienced. We think that by holding on to the hurt, we are somehow protecting ourselves, guarding our hearts from future pain. But the truth is, holding on to that hurt doesn't protect us. It only makes the wound deeper. It keeps us anchored in a past that we can no longer change. Letting go of pain isn't easy. It requires courage. It takes courage to admit that the hurt has been done, that we can't change the past, and that we must move forward. It takes courage to stop allowing the wrongs of others to define who we are. By letting go, we make a conscious decision to release the control that the pain has over us, to reclaim our peace, and to step into a life that is not governed by the wounds of the past. One of the most powerful aspects of letting go is that it opens up space for healing. When we hold on to anger and resentment, we are preventing ourselves from healing. Those negative emotions build up and create barriers in our hearts, making it difficult for us to experience peace and joy. But when we choose to let go, we create room for healing to take place. We allow ourselves to move beyond the hurt, to mend, and to grow stronger. The act of letting go is like opening a door to the possibility of a brighter future, a future that is no longer overshadowed by the pain of the past. Letting go also allows us to step into a new chapter of our lives. Our past experiences, especially the painful ones, often influence the way we see the world and relate to others. If we continue to carry the weight of past hurts, we may find ourselves repeating the same patterns, approaching relationships with fear or distrust, and living in the shadow of what was. But when we let go of the past, we open ourselves up to new opportunities. We are free to experience life without the burden of old wounds affecting our perceptions and interactions. We can live more fully, more freely, and with greater hope for the future. It's important to note that letting go is not an instant process. It's not a single decision, but rather a journey. The pain of being wronged can resurface over time, and when it does, we are once again faced with the choice to either hold on or let go. The more we choose to let go, the easier it becomes. It's a process of choosing healing over hurt, peace over anger, and growth over stagnation. Each time we make that choice, we move further away from the past and closer to the future we deserve. Letting go also frees us to live in the present moment. When we hold on to past hurt, we can become so consumed by it that we miss out on the opportunities and blessings that are available to us right now. We become stuck in a cycle of pain and regret, unable to fully embrace the present. But when we let go, we allow ourselves to be fully present in the moment. We open ourselves to new experiences, to love, to joy, and to peace that exist in the here and now. In the end, letting go is not about weakness, nor is it about excusing the wrongs done to us. It is about strength. Strength to move beyond the hurt, strength to heal, and strength to embrace a future filled with peace and freedom. By letting go, we release ourselves from the grip of past pain and open our hearts to the possibility of something greater. The past no longer defines us, we do. And in that freedom, we find true healing. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood concepts in life. Many people think that forgiveness is about excusing someone's behavior or allowing them to escape the consequences of their actions. But forgiveness is not about the other person at all. It's about you. It's about your heart, your peace, and your ability to heal. When we forgive, we are not letting someone off the hook. We are choosing to release ourselves from the grip of resentment, bitterness, and anger. Forgiveness is an internal decision that frees us, not the person who wronged us. The act of forgiveness begins when we understand that holding on to the hurt and pain does not serve us. While it's natural to feel the sting of betrayal or hurt, keeping those feelings locked inside only weighs us down. It becomes a poison in our hearts, slowly eroding our ability to experience joy and peace. And the person who hurt us? They likely don't even know the extent of the bitterness we're carrying. Often, the only one suffering from our refusal to forgive is ourselves. When we forgive, we take the first step in freeing ourselves from the toxic grip of those emotions. Forgiveness gives us the ability to move on and to take control of our emotional well-being. It's important to realize that forgiveness doesn't mean we forget what happened. It doesn't mean that the wrong we experienced is suddenly erased from our memory. Forgiving someone doesn't change the past. It changes how the past affects our present and future. Forgiveness means that we choose to stop letting the pain control our lives. We choose to stop allowing the wrongs of others to shape our feelings, our thoughts, and our behavior. Forgiveness is not about ignoring the hurt. It's about releasing it so that it doesn't define us anymore. It's about choosing to take our power back and not let the actions of others dictate our peace. Forgiveness is also about reclaiming our emotional freedom. The longer we hold on to unforgiveness, the more it festers and grows inside of us. It keeps us trapped in the past, unable to experience the fullness of life because we are too focused on what was. We might even begin to define ourselves by our hurt. I'm the one who was wronged, we think. I'm the victim. But when we forgive, we let go of that identity. We stop letting the offense define us. We let go of the anger, the bitterness, and the resentment, and we make room for healing. By forgiving, we free ourselves from being bound by the wrongs done to us and allow ourselves to move forward. Forgiveness also means acknowledging that the person who hurt us may never apologize, may never understand the depth of the pain they caused, or may never seek reconciliation. But even if that person never changes, we can still choose to forgive. This is the power of forgiveness. It is not dependent on the other person's actions. Forgiveness is something we control, a choice we make for our own peace. When we forgive, we release ourselves from the need for the other person to make things right. We let go of the expectation that they will apologize or change their behavior. By doing so, we empower ourselves to find peace in our own hearts, regardless of what the other person does. It's also important to note that forgiveness doesn't mean we have to trust the person again, especially if they have repeatedly hurt us. Trust is built over time, and it can take years to rebuild. Forgiveness and trust are two different things. We can forgive someone without immediately restoring the relationship or trusting them again. In fact, setting boundaries is often necessary to protect ourselves from further harm. Forgiveness means that we release the bitterness and anger, but we may still need to set healthy boundaries to protect ourselves emotionally and physically. Trust is a separate journey, one that requires consistent actions and time. When we choose forgiveness, we allow ourselves to heal. Forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It's a decision we make every time the pain resurfaces, every time we're reminded of the hurt. Each time we forgive, we take a step closer to emotional freedom. As we release the anger and bitterness, we begin to experience a peace that surpasses understanding. We no longer allow the wrongs of others to control our hearts and minds. Instead, we reclaim our peace and move forward in our journey toward healing and emotional wholeness. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It's a choice to stop carrying the weight of past offenses and to step into the freedom of healing. It doesn't mean we condone the wrongs done to us or ignore the pain. It means we choose to rise above it. By forgiving, we free ourselves from the chains of resentment and embrace the peace that comes with letting go of the past. Forgiveness is the key to emotional freedom, and in choosing it, we take back control of our lives. When we are hurt by others, it's easy to become consumed by our emotions. The anger, the frustration, the sadness, these feelings can easily take over if we let them. Our natural response may be to close ourselves off, build walls around our hearts, and hold on to the bitterness we feel. But what if we chose a different path? What if, instead of allowing the hurt to harden our hearts, we allowed it to soften us? What if we could turn the pain into an opportunity for growth and healing? One of the most important aspects of healing after being hurt is the posture of our hearts. It's not just about what happens to us, but how we respond to what happens. We can choose to react with bitterness and anger, or we can choose to respond with grace, patience, and understanding. The choice to soften our hearts in the face of pain is not a sign of weakness. It is a powerful demonstration of strength. A softened heart is one that is open to healing, open to peace, and open to love, even when circumstances are difficult. When we soften our hearts, we allow ourselves the space to process our emotions in a healthy way. It doesn't mean we ignore our pain or pretend that it doesn't matter. It means we acknowledge it and choose to let it go. A hardened heart, on the other hand, refuses to release the hurt. It keeps us locked in a cycle of negative emotions, never allowing us to move forward. The more we hold on to bitterness, the more we allow it to take root in our hearts, and the more it affects every part of our lives. It influences how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we experience the world. A hardened heart makes it difficult to trust, to love, and to find peace. Choosing to soften our hearts is a deliberate act of will. It requires us to be vulnerable, to acknowledge that we've been hurt, and to allow ourselves to feel the pain without letting it consume us. It's a decision to let go of the need to control our emotions and allow ourselves to heal. Soften our hearts, and we open ourselves to the possibility of growth. When we release the anger, the frustration, and the bitterness, we create room for new experiences, new relationships, and new perspectives. A softened heart also opens the door to empathy. When we let go of the need to hold on to our pain, we are better able to understand the pain of others. We begin to see people not just as the ones who have hurt us, but as fellow human beings who are also navigating their own struggles and challenges. When we soften our hearts, we can empathize with others, even those who have wronged us. We recognize that everyone has their own battles, and we respond with compassion rather than judgment. This doesn't mean that we excuse the hurtful actions of others. It doesn't mean that we allow people to treat us poorly or repeatedly hurt us without consequence. Softening our hearts does not mean tolerating abuse or mistreatment. Rather, it means choosing not to let the actions of others define our hearts or our peace. We acknowledge the hurt, we process it, and we move forward, not allowing the negativity to take root in our hearts. When we soften our hearts, we also open ourselves to the possibility of forgiveness. Forgiveness becomes much easier when our hearts are softened because we are no longer focused on the wrong that was done to us. We begin to see the bigger picture, and we realize that holding on to the pain is not serving us. By choosing to soften our hearts, we free ourselves from the grip of resentment, and forgiveness becomes an act of release, not just for the other person, but for ourselves as well. A softened heart also brings healing. It is through the process of letting go, of choosing peace over anger, that we allow our hearts to heal. The wound may not vanish overnight, but as we soften, the pain loses its power over us. We may still remember the hurt, but it no longer controls us. Healing comes when we are no longer consumed by the bitterness of the past. It comes when we choose to release the pain and embrace a future filled with peace and growth. In the end, the posture of our hearts is everything. When we choose to soften our hearts, we choose to release the hold that pain has over us. We choose to open ourselves to healing, to peace, and to love. And in doing so, we create space for a better, brighter future, one that is no longer defined by the hurt of the past, but by the strength and peace we have gained through the journey of healing. A softened heart allows us to live fully, to love deeply, and to experience the joy and peace that life has to offer. Forgiveness is not always a one-time event. Rather, it is an ongoing process that unfolds over time. We often think of forgiveness as a singular, definitive moment when we finally release the pain and move on. However, in reality, forgiveness can be a journey, a continual decision to let go of the hurt, anger, and resentment each time the pain resurfaces. It's important to understand that the process of forgiveness is not linear. It's not as simple as just deciding to forgive once and then everything being fine. Instead, it's a repeated act of releasing the weight of the past, allowing healing to occur at each step along the way. The journey of forgiveness often involves facing the pain over and over again. Just because we decide to forgive doesn't mean that the hurt will disappear instantly. The memory of the wrong may come back, and the emotions attached to it might resurface unexpectedly. When this happens, we are presented with a choice. Will we choose to forgive again, or will we allow ourselves to be consumed by the hurt? It is in these moments of re-experiencing the pain that we must actively choose forgiveness once more. It's not that forgiveness hasn't worked, it's that healing is a process, and sometimes it requires repeated efforts to truly let go. This ongoing journey of forgiveness requires patience with ourselves. Often we can be our own harshest critics when it comes to forgiveness. We might feel as though we should have moved on by now, or we may become frustrated with ourselves for feeling hurt again. But it's important to recognize that healing isn't instant. Forgiveness isn't a magical fix. It takes time, and the emotions connected to the wrong are real, even after we choose to forgive. We have to give ourselves permission to grieve, to feel the pain, and then choose time and time again to release that pain. It's a gradual process of emotional healing, and we must be patient with ourselves along the way. One of the powerful things about choosing forgiveness repeatedly is that it strengthens our resilience. Every time we choose to forgive, we build spiritual and emotional muscle. We grow stronger in our ability to let go of the pain, and we become more equipped to deal with future hurts. Just as physical strength is built over time with consistent effort, emotional and spiritual strength are also developed through our commitment to forgive. The more we practice forgiveness, the more natural it becomes to let go of anger and bitterness. This doesn't mean that we won't still experience pain, but it means that we become more adept at releasing the hold that pain has over us. Additionally, this ongoing act of forgiveness transforms us. It shifts our hearts and minds from a place of victimhood to one of empowerment. When we forgive, we are no longer bound by the wrongs done to us. We choose to stop being defined by the hurt or by the actions of others. Instead, we reclaim control over our emotional and mental well-being. Forgiveness allows us to step into a place of freedom where we are no longer slaves to the bitterness of our past. Each act of forgiveness is a step toward healing, growth, and a life of emotional freedom. The journey of forgiveness also brings us closer to understanding the depth of grace. It allows us to see beyond the actions of others and understand that we too are flawed and in need of grace. When we choose to forgive again and again, we are reminded of the grace that has been extended to us in our own lives. We are called to extend the same grace to others that we have received. Each act of forgiveness is not just an emotional release. It is an act of grace, both for ourselves and for the people who have wronged us. It's about recognizing that no one is perfect, that we all make mistakes, and that we all need forgiveness from others and from ourselves. This journey is not a solitary one either. As we forgive repeatedly, we can lean on the support of others who are also walking the path of healing. Forgiveness is not something we have to do alone. There is strength in community, in sharing our struggles, and in encouraging each other along the way. Sometimes we may need others to remind us of the power of forgiveness when we feel stuck or discouraged. Sometimes we need others to help us see the bigger picture, to help us recognize that the freedom we seek is on the other side of forgiveness. It is in walking this journey with others that we can truly experience the healing and freedom that comes with forgiveness. Forgiveness, then, is not a single decision, but an ongoing journey of letting go, healing, and growing. It requires us to be patient with ourselves, to practice grace, and to understand that healing is a process. With each step of forgiveness, we move closer to the peace and freedom that we desire. And while the road may be long, it is one that ultimately leads us to a life filled with healing, growth, and the strength to face whatever comes our way. In the end, the way we respond to those who hurt us shapes not only our relationships with others, but also our emotional and spiritual well-being. Choosing forgiveness over anger, letting go of past hurts, and softening our hearts in the face of pain all lead to a life of peace, healing, and growth. Forgiveness is a continual journey, a decision we make repeatedly to free ourselves from the shackles of resentment and bitterness. It's about reclaiming our power, living in emotional freedom, and embracing the grace that allows us to rise above the hurt. As we walk this path, we become stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate, ultimately leading us to a place where the pain of the past no longer controls us, and we can live fully in the present. Forgiveness may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. It is the key to healing, freedom, and peace. Keep forgiving, keep healing, and keep growing, because in doing so, you are becoming the best version of yourself. You are not defined by the hurt others caused, but by the strength you find in choosing love, grace, and peace over bitterness.